Joining us now is CBS Sports NFL staff writer Tyler Sullivan to break down the Matthew Judon trade. And Tyler, we'll start with this. Why do you think the time was now for the Patriots to trade Matthew Judon to the Atlanta Falcons for a third-round pick in next year's draft?
Well, because the situation that made Matthew Judon upset initially was still festering over the organization. Of course, we all remember when he had that demonstrative showing during that first full padded practice in training camp a couple of weeks ago. And while things may have kind of smoothed over, again, he was a full participant during that joint practice with the Philadelphia Eagles. Even though things may have been a little bit more hunky-dory, he still wants a new contract. He still wants to be paid more than what he was being paid for the 2024 season, whether that's just a raise for this season or an extension for multiple years. He wants that. And I don't think that that was ever going to go away. You know, things may have cooled off in the summer for a moment, but if this team went into the regular season and still did not take care of Matthew Judon, I think we could have seen a few more of those instances. And when you're on a losing football team trying to establish a culture with a first-year head coach, you don't necessarily want those things happening. So I think from that standpoint, if they knew they were not going to pay Matthew Judon, it may be best to get rid of him now before it becomes a problem again later.
Why do you think the Patriots were ultimately unwilling to meet Matthew Judon at the number that he wanted with his contract?
Well, I think it's a multitude of factors. Most notably, he's 32 years old, coming off a season-ending injury a year ago. And I think if you're the Patriots, you have to be realistic of what you are at this point in time. You're not a team that needs a 32-year-old pass rusher that's coming off a season-ending injury. It's not one of those situations where he puts you over the hump for something. Right now, you're just trying to develop a new culture with younger players. I think that's why you see guys like Mike Onwenu get an extension this offseason, because he is someone who they know they're going to build with going forward. Matthew Judon, a fantastic piece when he's healthy, but right now, it's still a question. And if you're not really confident that he's going to be a part of your future over the next couple of years, it makes sense to get rid of him now before he's a problem in the locker room and to get some assets for the future.
And as it's regarding this Matthew Judon conversation, the talk now around town is, do the Patriots get enough back? They got that third round pick in the 2025 draft. Do you think that was enough, or do you think Elliott Wolf should have gotten more?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I actually think it's a fantastic return for the Patriots. As much as, yes, you are losing when healthy, arguably your best player. I mean, he's been the face of your franchise over the last couple of years. And so there's something to be said for that. But as I just mentioned, this is a 32-year-old pass rusher that's coming off a season-ending injury, and you were able to get a third-round pick in return for him. That on its own is impressive by Elliott Wolf in the front office. But let's also throw in the fact that everybody in the NFL knows that this is a player that's unhappy with his situation in New England and wants a new contract. Those are the type of recipes where you're like, okay, if you're an opposing team like Atlanta who ended up trading for him, you come into Elliott Wolf, you call up and say, hey, I'll give you a conditional 6th-round pick because I know that he's unhappy and you necessarily don't want to sign him. So really the negotiating leverage is totally against the Patriots in a situation like this. So the fact that they came away with a day 2 pick for a rebuilding team, I think that's a tremendous win for Elliott Wolf.
Now, of course, this sets things up for next year, and you're going to be adding to what is going to be a very young team going into next season. The question now is, how much does this lower the ceiling for this year's team? With this trade, are the Patriots, in your estimation, unequivocally at least projected to be the worst team in the NFL this year?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the win totals, even before this trade, they were, I think it was like 4.5, and that's one of the lowest in the NFL. So unfortunately, that kind of certainly seems to be the case. Again, I just mentioned that when healthy, he's your best player. So if you lose your best player, it's probably not a good thing in terms of the win totals and everything along that goes with it. And, as much as we talk about Matthew Judon, you also have to couple with that the loss of Christian Barmore indefinitely due to the blood clot issue. You're talking about arguably 2 of your best defensive players along that offensive front 7. I have a lot of questions about how this team is going to impact the quarterback and how they're going to apply pressure this season. A lot of it now is going to rest on the shoulders of Keon White, who is someone who Gerard Mayo did point out earlier this summer that is someone that he expects to take a leap in year 2. So again, that's an encouraging person to kind of keep an eye on here. But overall, Matthew Judon, and it seemed like he was totally healthy. I don't think that that was an issue. Again, I don't think this trade goes down if he's not healthy. And so if you're losing a healthy Matthew Judon, absolutely. Your defense and the ability to pressure the quarterback is going to be drastically limited in 2024.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a sad day here in Patriots Nation just because of what Matthew Judon brought to this team, not only on the field, but the personality part of it as well. And now we'll go to see what he does with the Atlanta Falcons this upcoming year. We'll end with that, Tyler. What do you make of the Falcons now after making this trade for Matthew Judon?
Yeah, no, I think that this puts them in the driver's seat in the NFC South if they already weren't there in the first place. Obviously, it was a big offseason for them, signing Kirk Cousins and making a number of moves on the offensive side of the ball. A new coaching staff comes in as well. The one thing that was kind of missing from this offseason was adding a pass rusher. I think the last time they had a significant pass rusher was like Vic Beasley in the late 20 teens. They have really struggled in that regard over the last couple of years. And Matthew Judon is someone who can be injected into this defense and really help them in that regard. When they drafted Michael Penix, I thought that they were firmly in the mix with Dallas Turner or Jared Verse in that spot. So when they took a quarterback, we're like, oh boy, I don't know where they're going to find some pass rushing help that can help them immediately in 2024. So even back during when Matthew Judon was kind of having some, social media disputes with the team publicly and things like that, we did write at CBSSports.com about potential landing spots for Matthew Judon, and I had the Atlanta Falcons as one of those teams because there was such a glaring need at pass rusher. So the fact that they're able to bring in a talent like that for a team that's ready to contend for a division title, I think that this is a tremendous move for them as well.
Well, these two franchises forever linked together because of 28-3. This is just another chapter and the links between these two organizations, Patriots and Falcons, with Matthew Judon being traded from the Patriots, the Atlanta Falcons, for a third-round pick in next year's draft. You can read all the coverage at CBSSports.com with Tyler Sullivan. He will join us tomorrow to break down the Patriots preseason game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Tyler, as always, appreciate the time.